Alright, here I am on a couple of abandoned railroad crossings on West Jefferson Avenue in Wyandotte, Michigan. Well, this is between Ecorse and, Wyandotte, maybe a couple other cities, but I'd say this is mostly in Wyandotte. But yeah, so before I begin explaining, there are a whole lot of railroad crossings on Jefferson Avenue, actually. Like down there's a crossbuck where the Conrail line goes through. There is a little spur where the shoreline goes through a couple of cantilevers that Owens 3-2 filmed, which, speaking of, he did film these crossings too, which I'll also explain more details in a second. But I decided to film these, tour these two crossings because I feel like these are the coolest out of all of them that I've seen, and they're abandoned, so they might be taken down soon, so I decided to snap a video of them while I can. But yeah, about Owens 3-2 and these crossings, he actually filmed a train going around and derailing because I guess one of the wheels just slipped off and whatnot. So yeah, back in 2007, he caught that derailment that happened through these crossings. And what I think these are owned by is by the CN Shoreline sub. They have a spur going into this customer over here, which I guess they no longer need the railroad for. So these are just abandoned, and you can see the tracks no longer exist through the road on this particular crossing. So yeah, now they're just rotten and rusting away, no longer used. And then yeah, all that stuff. So yeah, with all that said, let's go ahead and begin the tour. So for this first signal, this has a Lincoln Industries cantilever, and there are no traces of emergency information in dot text or anything. They took out the crossbucks, they took out the stop on red signal sign, they took out pretty much everything this crossing had. Like they took out the crossbuck that was originally up there. And Owens 3-2, I think he also caught this crossing malfunctioning one time, or maybe that was a different crossing on Jefferson Avenue. Like I said, Jefferson Avenue has a lot, so I decided to get this one, toured out real quick and whatnot. But yeah, but they still kept the lights and some equipment though. So for the lights, this has 3 pairs of Western Colin Hayes 12 by 24 inch incandescent lights, which, as you can see, are all bagged up, but I can still see and tell what they are. And this is on a Premier Products junction box. But yeah, that's that. The Western Colin Hayes lights. And you can see over there the relay case, which is obviously shut off now. But hopefully I can get this real quick because they're doing construction around here. But yeah, and then for the overhead lights are 2 more pairs of Western Colin Hayes 12 by 24 inch incandescent lights. Yep, which are once again backed up, and they, as you can see, they asphalted over the rails, and you can see that the lawn grew over the rails partly, and you can see where they cut them. Yeah, they chopped them up and whatnot. Now they're just overgrown. And the bell is a Western Colin Hayes mechanical bell. Not an active one though, so that's a shame. Now with that explained, let's go ahead and check out the other signal. Alright, so here is the next signal, which is pretty much similar to the first. This one also has a Lincoln Industries cantilever, but it's the exact same style, but they locked this one up, which apparently this has a Rayco lock on her, which is kind of unique. But yeah, one of those cantilevers. Still no traces of any emergency information or anything. They just took it all out, as you can see. Probably used to be mounted on the stop and red signal sign. But yeah. And then for the lights, there are 2 more pairs of Western Colin Hayes 12 by 24 inch incandescent lights. And for the overhead lights are 2 more pairs of Western Colin Hayes 12 by 24 inch lights. Yep, per the usual. And for the bell is another Western Colin Hayes mechanical bell. And real quick, to look at the track view, you can see where the train used to curve back to the other signals down there, which I'll just tour in just a second. But yeah, you can see all the leftover rail that has been cut up and just left behind. And if you look right here where I'm standing, this used to go all the way across the road. I mean, obviously. And you can see this is where they used to enter, where the customer used to accept some certain box cars. They probably load up like cars or auto racks, or maybe just simple box cars. I think they just loaded up simple box cars. But yeah, here's the relay case. Obviously shut off, but yeah, it's definitely still there. So here are the first pair of cantilevers on Jefferson Avenue. Well, there's definitely quite a bit of cantilevers on Jefferson Avenue. There's like at least 6 crossings on this road throughout. But yeah, there's the first set. Now let's go ahead and go on to the second set. Alright, so here's the second set of signals, which most definitely these these crossings tell a little bit more history. So these ones have like more vintage equipment, and I wanted to, you know, get these videotaped before they probably get taken down. I mean, they probably only have so much life left in them. So yeah, here is the first cantilever, which I think this is a Rayco cantilever. As you can see, the base plate has been taken off, but it's been covered up by a piece of metal. As you can see the internals in there too, which is kind of neat. You know, it's zip tied on there. So that's a Rayco cantilever. And here is, well, there's no emergency information on this either. But and as you can see, right next to me is a Griswold relay case this thing has, which is pretty interesting. Has a Griswold relay case, which is really neat. But yeah, with that said, for the mast lights, this has 2 pairs of Safetran 8-inch lights, as you can see. Pretty neat. From a distance, they kind of look like Rayco 8-inch lights, but obviously they did switch out some things in the past. Well, really, that's just my assumption. Now these signals are just left here to rot. I mean, hell, I don't think they barely maintain these, because from what I remember, a private owner owns these. It's just a little branch line, not the actual railroad themselves, or I would say CN or whoever owned these. But yeah, and also one really cool and rare thing that has been left behind in this crossing is an inverted 2-track sign, which is really neat. Inverted stop and red signal used to be here as well on both signals, but they've been replaced, so just the inverted 2-track sign remains. But yeah, and then for the overhead lights is 2 more pairs of Safetran 8-inch lights once again. 2 more pairs of Safetran 8-inch lights. Sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I'm just making sure that my information is clear or correct, which is probably not, but it's whatever. But yeah, that's that. And the bell is a Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell, mounted right on the side. So this may possibly be a Griswold cantilever, but at the same time I doubt it. So this could just be a Rayco cantilever. Just looks like that to me. And oh, there is a dot tag on the side. It's an old Grand Trunk Western dot tag with the dot number 258098W. Yep, that's that. At least I found some traces of emergency information on this thing. But yeah, I thought it was really cool just to see a Griswold cantilever powering these things in the past. But that's that cantilever. Now let's go ahead and go on to this other cantilever as I cross this busy road. But yeah, right here is the second signal, which I would say completely different from the first. So this one, I can't really tell what cantilever this has. This is either a Federal Signal or a WRS cantilever. I think it's a Federal Signal cantilever, because if it was a WRS, it would have a Union metal base, but it doesn't, so it might be a Federal Signal cantilever. But yeah, so here's some emergency information. This is the only trace of emergency information I found, and the dot number is, I mean, yeah, it's the same dot number as the dot tag that I just filmed over there, 280098W. And up here on the other side, there actually is an old, really old yet corroded DT&I dot tag, which is pretty cool. Never thought I would see that. Yeah, Grand Trunk Western and Detroit, Toledo, and Ironton used to run through all of these CN lines near around Wyandotte. But yeah, and then for the lights, these are very bent up. Are 2 more pairs of Safetran 8-inch lights. You know, I mean, they looked in decent condition too, which is surprising. And once again, I also had to film this as well. Another inverted 2-track sign. Once again, a inverted stop on red signal sign used to be here, and that's when Owens 32 filmed these crossings in action, when these crossings used to have inverted stop and red signal signs. And once again, I will leave the video links in the description of these crossings in action, what they used to look like, but this is what they look like now in the modern era. And the overhead lights are 2 more pairs of Safetran 8-inch lights once again. And the bell is a Western Cullen Hayes electronic bell. It's kind of crazy how much original equipment is left after those videos were filmed by that Owens 32 guy. And once again, here are the double door entrances to the, you know, customer. Once again, just like over there, the train circles around this way. But as you can see, the rails are now rusty and warped. But they surprisingly haven't chopped it up here yet, but they're doing construction, so they might, as soon as, like whenever they're done, they might asphalt over these rails. But yeah, I decided to film it while they're still here and whatnot. Pretty cool stuff on Jefferson Avenue. But for now, I can only record 10 minutes at a time with this camera, but this right here was the 2 abandoned railroad crossings owned by the Shoreline sub that go out into this customer. Now abandoned. As you can see, this cantilever's been bent by something, like a semi-truck hit it or something. But yeah, for now, this is it. Over and out.